and welcome everyone. My name is Stephen Goldberg of Optimus Performance, bringing you practical tips and ideas on leadership, team development, and employee performance in the workplace. And as you can see, I have a special guest with me today, Bond Astor. And Bond is a specialist in helping companies become profitable, mostly small business and entrepreneurs. Welcome, Bond. Thank you for joining me.
Nice to be with you today, Stephen, and everyone on the podcast. And thanks for hosting me here.
You're welcome. So, Bond, your company is Value Logic Solutions. Give us a brief introduction about yourself and the company, what kind of work you do briefly, because we're going to get into that more in the interview.
So I'm going to start with my why, which people know Simon Sinek start with why.
Okay.
That's what I'm going to start with. And the reason I'm doing this is that the majority of people in the world spend the majority of their week working in small companies. If those companies can be run in a healthy way, then the world will be a healthier place. And so that's what my company does is help small businesses run in a way that's healthy for the owners and the employees. And what causes the biggest lack of health is stress. So my focus is on helping business owners reduce stress for themselves and their employees in their business and structure the business for that.
Excellent. I can
And
totally
the profit,
relate to this.
the profit part that you mentioned is
Yeah.
that's the biggest cause of stress in businesses. So that's where we start. But the focus is on reducing stress, not on producing profits. The purpose of profit increase is to reduce the stress of the owner and the employees in the business.
And create wealth and abundance at the same time.
Yeah, well, that it's much, people say that it's stressful to have a lot of money, but I'll tell you, it's a whole lot more stressful to not have enough money, and especially in a small business being hand to mouth and figuring out who you're going to pay and who you owe money to and how to stay on top of it is extremely stressful for the owner and also for the employees.
I can totally relate to this, idea about stress because uh, 2 years ago I suffered heart disease while riding my bicycle and had to have bypass surgery 2 days later. And everybody
Wow.
was shocked because they thought I live such a healthy life. I, exercise a lot, I eat well. I was even vegan for a while. But I think back now at what probably was the biggest cause of, the clogging of my arteries was stress.
Yeah.
And I think that for me in my situation, so I can, and I think, like you say, stress can really kill you. It creates, heart disease
Yeah.
and other problems.
Right.
And even if you're making money, if you're totally stressed out, you can't really enjoy your life. So what's the point, right? So I
Yeah.
like what you're saying. But of course, business owners, entrepreneurs, you have to make money to stay in business and be profitable. So let's hear how you could help your clients uh, achieve both, eliminate or reduce stress to live a healthier, more fruitful life and, you know, be profitable at the same time. So maybe tell us about the type of companies that you work with, and we'll get into some of the solutions, some of the fixes that you do, and how others listening can maybe consider those in their situation.
I can work with any kind of company, but I really focus on the trades companies
Okay.
like painting, roofing, general contractors. I have an extermination client, um, electricians, plumbers, trades, those kind of things, and also manufacturing. which is most of my experience, most of my career has been working in manufacturing companies. So I've got a lot of experience with that. And most of my clients over the last 10 years have been trades companies. So I have a lot of experience with that. So that general type of company anywhere in the United States, and the size of company is all the way from a solopreneur with at least $100,000 a year in revenue up to 50 million in revenue or 300 employees.
Wow.
And I don't go above 300 employees because it's difficult to help them run in a healthier way once they get over 300 because the culture is kind of cast in concrete. And so I would have to do a demolition of the company, basically start all over again. And that's not, I'm not in the demolition business. I'm in the shifting a company when it's small enough that you can change the culture and run the company in a way that's much healthier for the owner and the employees. So that's the range is from solopreneur to 300. Ideal range is about 5 to 25 employees, or about 1 to 5 million. There are a lot of companies in that range in the United States. And usually in that range, a company has sales and a system for sales, but they've grown to the point where they've got employees and they got to figure out how to organize the employees, and it starts being stressful to just manage the people and move forward and grow the company. And so that company needs all the areas that we do. They need to maximize their profits to reduce stress, and they need to help organize their employees and their organization in order to reduce stress and in order to structure it in a way that the owners and the employees are doing what they love to do and that they do well. And then once they have a good financial system and good profits, a good profit base, and they have an organization that's resilient with minimum bureaucracy, then they're in a position to grow. And then we help accelerate growth. And we bring in digital content marketing to accelerate the growth of the company and help them grow to the next level and maintain that culture and keep the company healthy as it's growing.
So can you describe some of the symptoms that you see these companies that you end up working with have that is related to the problem of, I guess, scaling up and becoming profitable? What are you seeing as the
Um,
symptoms?
yeah, so I'm going to pick that 1 to 5 million range because in that range it covers everything. All the things that a company needs to deal with are there in those size companies usually. And if bigger companies, um, there's more of certain areas, but everything's there in that size range. For the smaller companies under 1 million, the focus is really on sales, and a lot of them don't have enough employees or any employees, so operations and organization isn't really an issue at all. So it's sales and finance. But in that 1 to 5 million, it's about all of that. It's about maximizing the profits, structuring the organization for growth, and then accelerating growth and getting up to the next level for the business. So the issues, I'm going to start with profits. The issues that companies have is that I find, example, a catering company that's a client that is solopreneur. And when I started working with them, I said, do you need help with your QuickBooks, with your bookkeeping? And the client said, no, I'm doing it myself. I'm keeping up. Everything's reconciled. It's fine. But I would like you to go into QuickBooks and create a financial plan so I know my cash flow. I know what's happening in my finances and get a plan. I said, great. So I got staff. We can do that. So I brought in my bookkeeper. Bookkeeper got into the books. And within a week, we discovered the books had not been reconciled for 6 months, that we couldn't get any useful information out of the books at all because they weren't reconciled. They were a total mess. So we went to the client and said, um, they're not reconciled. Oh, it's a little, oh, am I behind 6 months? I thought it was a month or two behind. I didn't realize how far behind I was. So we ended up needing to clean up the books, get all the reconciling done, get things clear. So we come in usually with a client and we'll go in, and if they say everything's great, we'll do a quick audit like we did with that client and see if things are reconciled, if the books are in good shape. And if they are, then we can start extracting data in order to come up with a financial plan. But more times than not, we find they're not in as good a shape as the client either thinks or as they say. Sometimes we find that they have reconciled and they think they're okay and they think they're doing good, but when we dig in, things are not adding up. When we audit the books, we find out that they're things don't add up right. The information in QuickBooks is not matching the information in the bank account. And so there is cleanup to be done. They don't even realize there's things to be cleaned up. They think their books are fine. I had a client that said, yeah, his books were fine. Went in and did the audit on the books and found they were a total mess. And it took us 6 months to clean up his books. Once we got his books cleaned up, we filed and we cleaned up his books for the previous year and a half, the total year before and the 6 months of the year that we started working with him. When we got them cleaned up, he filed an amended return for the year before and got $50,000 back from the IRS because he overstated his income because the books were so far off.
Wow. So that's quite a gain.
So that's
Just from
one way
getting
that we
some
can help
clarity on
increase
the
profits
situation.
is when you're paying the IRS more than you should be because you don't even know where your books are or what's going on in your books. And you think you do, but when we get in and really dig into the books, um, one of the things people don't realize is that um, I had dinner in Seattle with a wealth management company and some of their clients, and I was a guest because as a business coach, I was collaborating with them. And I sat at a table with two accountants who were about ready to retire. They were in their 60s, long accounting careers. One worked with a major accounting company. The other one, the husband ran his own accounting company. And I asked them, what percentage of bookkeepers in all your experience over the years do an accurate job on the books? And when I ask that of business owners, the answer I usually get is about 80% is what they think. Their answer was 10% of bookkeepers are accurate.
Hmm.
Experienced bookkeepers. And I said, what about accountants? Same, about 10%. So I said, what percent of bookkeepers and accountants save their clients money? When I ask business owners that, they usually say 60 or 70% of them are saving them money. The accountants answer 1%. So I have bookkeepers and accountants that focus on doing an accurate job and saving the client money. That's extremely rare.
Interesting.
And the problem is most business owners don't understand finances well enough to know if their bookkeepers are doing a good job or not. Like when I come in and audit books, they think their books are fine. We find a total mess. Now, there are times we come in and we find that books are reconciled, they're in good shape. Then we can start doing our financial planning and things are great. But more often than not, that's not the case.
So once you get things in order, let's say from, some of your experience with your clients, and now you have a plan, what's usually the next step towards uh, organizing and building profits and also, that whole idea, because that's what's causing the stress. So
Right.
would be another fix that you bring in?
So while I have my accounting team auditing or cleaning up the books, I am working with the client to look at their prices for their products and services. And I review the prices for their products and services. And we go through all their products and services, and we usually pick one. Most businesses have, I've worked with businesses have as many as 10,000 different products. But most businesses have like 5 to 10 different services or products. I was working with a new painting client, and he said, yeah, I've got 2 services I provide. When we got in, he had 7. Oh, I forgot about this one. Oh, I forgot about that one. Oh, yeah, there's this one. So we go through and thoroughly identify what are the services you deliver and distinguish each of them. And then we pick one, which we did for him, has to do with the season of the year, and what is relevant right now as to which service to find the right price for. And then once we do that, then I look at things like, what are other people charging? The common ways you look at prices: what's it cost them to deliver to get a baseline? What's the market? And then all of that's used simply to find a starting point for my pricing strategy. And that's what we did. And so we did a 10% adjustment on his prices for this one specific service area and started that right away last week, while the books are being cleaned up. And yesterday we finally got the P&L from our from cleaning up the books over the last year and a half, monthly P&L, so we can start looking at a financial plan. But in the meantime, we've adjusted his prices, and that means he's starting to bring in more profits right now because the clients he's signing are now at a higher um, price than they were 2 weeks ago. So that goes right to the bottom line.
So
That's a
what's the
10%
reaction in the
profit.
marketplace for raising your price 10%? I mean, it's been common over the last few years. We've been hit with all kinds. I just got hit with my auto insurance increase over like 12%, and I had to
Yeah,
call the company to find out why. I ended
right.
up getting a small discount, but nothing. So it's, in this case, I don't have much choice to shop around at this point. But how did people react, customers or new clients, to this increase of 10%? Give us.
So increasing prices, part of it is determining where to start, depending on where the market is and the particular service. And then how do you communicate that to your clients? And there's also pricing for existing clients versus new clients. We don't price the same for existing clients versus new clients. Sometimes it's the same, but often it's different. How it's communicated is different. Um, so there's those factors. And then there's what's overall going on in the market. In the last 8 years since I developed the pricing strategy, 100% of the products and services that I've applied the pricing strategy to have been underpriced. And when I say underpriced, what I mean is the ideal price for any product or service is the average perceived value of that product or service by the clients that are using it. In other words, what's it worth to your clients? That is what my system determines. And it influences them as to what's going on in the economy, other prices, competitors. There are many, many influences. But what counts is not what those influences are. I only use those influences to find a starting place. Once I do that, I ignore all those influences. I apply the system, and it takes into account all of those, even without knowing what they are, because it will determine right now at this time, what is this product or service worth to the clients? And when I've done that, 100% of the products and services that I've applied it to have been underpriced. And yet 70% of business owners, when I ask them, say, I can't increase my price because I'll lose all my clients. I'm at the highest price in the market. I'm higher than my competitors. So many reasons why they can't increase price, and yet every one of them is underpriced.
So
I
their
have found
perception, they have a wrong
the
perception or a fear of the
fear
reaction
and
they're going to
perception.
get.
Yeah, they're afraid of losing clients, and their perception is they're overpriced. But how do they know they're overpriced if they haven't gotten the feedback from the clients to find out what the right price is? And that's what my system does. It gets feedback from clients to find out the right price. That's the information. That's all that counts, is what matters to the clients. I had a client that was a fitness coach, and he was doing one-on-one training with clients, which is typical. And he had the idea to start groups of 4. And he thought, I can get more clients because I can charge half as much and I can still get paid twice as much per hour for a group of 4. And the clients are getting it half the price. So I'll get more clients. So he started groups of 4. I applied the pricing strategy to the group of 4. And to set the initial price, I asked the questions, what is the overall result of the group of 4? He said, they're in better shape than one-on-one when they're done with a program. How fast do they make progress? They get there faster because they're pushing each other. How do they like it? They like it better because they're working with other people. So all the initial perceptions of that product was higher, and yet he was charging half the price. So we doubled the price on the groups of 4, and he doubled the number of groups of 4 he had within 2 months, and he got 500% return on investment for what he was paying us just off of that product by adjusting that one price. That's the fastest I've gotten 500% return on investment for
That's great.
clients. But that's the kind of thing you can do if you have a significantly underpriced product, which I've run into 20 or 30% of the time with clients.
You know, it's interesting while you're explaining and telling this story, I'm thinking of, you know, many of the small business entrepreneurs I know, uh, less today perhaps than in the past, but, you know, they often tend to resist hiring a business coach or investing in, you know, coaching and training, because they think it's just going to be an expense and it's not going to give a return. But you're really showing how bringing in an external person with a different perspective will generate new ideas based on proper information that you flushed out about the value perceived by the client. So that's a very
Right.
interesting case study or story
And
that you
that's one of
can
the
share.
things that distinguishes, because I'm focused on running healthy businesses, helping businesses run healthy. I want to help as many businesses as possible to run in a healthy way. So I want to make it easy for clients to work with me, and I want to make sure that that I get results and I bring value to them. And so my focus is on return on investment. If I want to increase their profits, it means I need to increase their net profits. If they pay me more money than I'm saving them, they haven't increased their profits. So
Mhm.
I've got to look at return on investment. My goal is all my clients to return at least 100% return on investment within a year. So if a client is paying me $2,000 a month for my services, and 2,000 a month for services, and I work with them for a year, they paid me 24,000. I want to bring them at least $48,000 in net profits above what they had before. So double their money back within a year. And like the fitness coach, I brought him 500%. He got 5 times what he was paying me in 2 months off of that one single service, because that was one that was greatly underpriced. The other aspect of that is people are afraid if I increase my prices, I'll lose clients. When products 20, 30% of the time are underpriced a lot, you actually will gain clients by increasing the price. Because if you're too low, the perception is your product is low quality, even if it's not. And by increasing the price, you get more clients.
Interesting.
So it can increase the clients, increase the profits, and that helps the business to help more clients with the services they're bringing.
So we've covered financial planning organization to have a clear picture of where the company is at and where the gains can be made. We talked about price adjustment based on the market and perception. What about sales? Because you started off talking, how do you help them generate more sales? Well, you gave the example with the fitness coach, but what other fixes or solutions do you bring when it comes to sales?
I think I'm going to actually take it a little bit different direction because the
Okay.
process is to get the profits up, then organize the company so they're ready to grow, and then do the sales. So organization is the next area. And I'm going to go back even a little bit farther step, and that is pricing and cleaning up books is only the first step in the profit increases. I bring in collaborators and also people in my team that can dig into the company's books and find places to reduce expenses. So that's another place to increase profits. And then once the books are cleaned up, we've reduced expenses, adjusted prices, then we come up with a financial plan to look at how what the cash flow of the company is. That's really key, especially for a growing company. How to smooth out cash flow and how to come up with a plan so they know when they have the profits to hire to expand their organization. And that feeds into the next level of organization. And what often happens is a company will grow, like this painting company. There's a client that a year and a half ago, it was just one guy painting houses in the Seattle area. And now, and last year he did about 150,000 in revenue. This year he's on track for doing $1 million in revenue and he has 9 employees.
Wow. Fantastic.
He no longer has time to keep up with his bookkeeping. So he brought me in to do the bookkeeping and accounting for him and to do the reconciling and catch up with what he's behind on and then come up with a financial plan. But now he's got 9 employees and got to figure out how to organize them. Who's going to do what on the projects? How do you track your projects? So one of the things we're doing is implementing in the finance system profitability tracking for projects. Very few trades companies track the profitability of each project. That's critical to know, are you taking on profitable projects or are you taking on projects that lose money? And most trades companies don't know that because they don't track the profitability of projects. And if they track it at all, they look at gross profits. But I want to look at net profit because that's what counts. So that's what we're starting to implement is a system for tracking profitability. And that leads right into the organization because then we can give feedback to the teams that are out doing the work, doing the painting of the houses as to this job is profitable. This is great. This job, oh, this happened and that happened. We lost money on that job. How can we do it differently next time so that those things don't happen so that we can have a profitable project next time?
So it sounds
Um,
like there has to be some transparency with the people doing the work as to
yes,
how the project they're working on is affecting the viability, the profits of the company, which is
and I
something
think
that a
that's a
lot of
key.
small business
Yeah,
owners don't want to share with their staff for fear that if they know we're making money, they're going to want more money.
the perception of employees in small businesses is that let's say there's a company that has $2 million in revenue. The perception of employees, they know about what the revenue is. Oh, company's making $2 million. No, they have a revenue of 2 million. Doesn't mean they're making 2 million. Doesn't mean the profits are 2 million. Their perception is here's an owner, owns a company, $2 million a year in revenue. The employees are having a hard time, they're the company may not be able to pay them very well. They're paid enough to get by, but like we're scraping by as employees. Here's the owner, $2 million a year. He's getting rich. The fact is, the majority of companies at $2 million a year in revenue, the owners are making less per hour than their lowest paid employee, and they work a lot more hours than any of the employees. That's a typical small business owner. But the perception of the employees is the owner's getting rich and they don't have to do anything in the business. So that's what I want to turn upside down
So how do you do
is
that? Because I've done team trainings in companies and
yeah,
educated the staff on what a P&L is, like a simple one, and
yeah,
what it
yeah,
costs to run a company, because they don't know.
yes. And that's one thing I want to bring up is how you and I collaborate. with businesses. And that's when we get to that stage we're at right that we're just talking about right now, is where it's really helpful for you to come in and to help with the communication between the owner and the management and the employees, and to educate them around the finances. Because in order for the company to succeed and be more profitable, the employees need the information, need the feedback in order for everyone to succeed and for the owner to get paid a reasonable salary for the work that they're doing, and for the employees to get paid more. The most powerful system I have for organizations, for companies like that, to help them improve their productivity and communication, is a system that increases productivity by a factor of 5 within a year and a half. And all 5 companies this has been applied to have increased productivity by at least a factor of 5 within 1.5 years from starting that system. I am implementing that system with a painting company. We met last week, looked at the organization, looked at his team, and we picked a team to track profitability for that team, which we're setting up in accounting. And we're going to start giving that information to the members of the team so they know what the profitability is, and they're starting to get feedback so they can help increase profitability for the client. That's the first step in the productivity system.
So do you
Once that's,
do
yeah,
you change the compensation system to
yes,
align with their contribution to being more paying more attention to the profit they're generating on a project?
yes, that's the key first step. And that's where, once the system is implemented, then the employees are all being paid a percent of the net profits they generate. And this first step is to select one team, one small team out of his whole company, out of the 9 employees, a team of 3, track their projects and pay them a percent of net profits generated on their project, in addition to their normal salary. So a
So it's
bonus.
like it's basically a performance bonus system, but it's driven by
Net
teamwork.
profits,
So you
right?
really
Not
need in these
sales,
cases, yeah,
not gross profits, but net profits.
net profit,
And you need the QuickBooks system set up to track that and give the feedback quickly to the employees and the owner.
which of course
That's the
QuickBooks
system we're
does,
getting
yeah.
set up. Once that system is implemented for every employee in the company after a year and a half, at that point, productivity for every company is increased by at least a factor of 5. The employees are typically paid double what they were before, because those bonuses are doubling their salary. All bureaucracy is gone, because that system is set up to automatically feed to the employees, so they will run the company. The owner doesn't need to work 80, 60, 70-hour weeks anymore. The company runs itself. There's no bureaucracy. And the profits increase according to the productivity. If a company is 50%, 50% of the expenses are for payroll, then when you increase productivity by a factor of 5, you increase profits by a factor of 2.5. So it
Interesting.
depends on where the productivity. Some companies, 80% of the expenses are labor. Then you get almost a 5 times, 4 times increase in profitability over that year and a half. At that point, the company is running itself. The owner doesn't have to work in the company. They just set the vision, where they want to go, how they want to expand. But they don't have to be involved in the operations at all. And then I set up a separate research division where the owner can try new things, new products, services, geographies, whatever they want to do. The reason they started the business, they want to do these different things. They can do that, but the main operation of the company are running themselves, and we don't mess with that. That produces profit, and that's used to fund these other ideas and have the owner play with the things he wants to. Or the owner can sell the company at that point, because it's very sellable. Or they can just go retire and let the company run itself and spend, like, 50 hours a year running the company, and just let it
And we
grow.
see examples of that in business today. I mean, we look at companies that started in, bedrooms. I mean, Google or all these,
Yeah.
companies that are huge. One company I'm just reading about is this furniture, online furniture company, Wayfair.
Uh-huh.
I think they have physical places now. And, it was two students in Boston that started this. And now it's a huge company. And so they had to have implemented these types of practices.
No, not necessarily. They do some of the things like they need enough most companies get to that level like let's look at Microsoft. The reason Microsoft is a multi-billion dollar company is one product, Windows.
Right.
And that's often why big companies succeed is they get one product that is a cash cow and it funds everything else. If you look at Microsoft, 95% of the products they've developed and sell, they lose money on. They
Well,
make all
same
their
with
profits off
Google,
the
right?
Windows and let
Google is the same. They make all their money from
yep,
advertising.
advertising and yeah, so it's like one product usually drives everything, but it with the system I'm talking about, every product is profitable. Everything they do is profitable. That is not the way usual businesses run. This is a totally different way to structure a company. It's never been done before. It eliminates bureaucracy. It keeps the company profitable. And that means if a company has this system in place and it grows, it will not be bureaucratic. It will maintain its profitability. The original company that developed this system, it took them 10 years to develop it. They finished developing it 5 years ago. They increased their profitability by 5 times. Over the last 5 years, since as they're running the company this way, the profitability has continued to increase. The productivity has increased. Now they're up a factor of 8 from where they started. So the company keeps getting better. With a normal company, as it grows, the profitability, the net profit margin drops because the bigger you get, the more bureaucracy you have. And so you look at big companies, they make billions of dollars, but their profit margins are low because they're very inefficient. But this system allows them to be efficient. So once you have a structure like that in place, then you can accelerate growth. And now you're accelerating profits and you're accelerating productivity without bureaucracy.
So, to implement this type of performance-based teamwork requires the
System.
teams to
Yeah.
become more autonomous, more,
Yep.
but first it requires the business owner to be willing to be more transparent, share financials,
Yes.
and it also requires an investment in, I would think, my experience in team training, because you could end up with a lot of conflicts in terms of decision making by the team to change work processes or in order to get those added gains and assure that the project is profitable. So does it take a special type of entrepreneur that's
Yes.
willing, because it requires them to change their style of leadership to be less controlling, to more
Yes.
delegating, to more participative, which is the type of
That's right.
thing that I always promote and is
Yes.
what I train leaders on, but not every leader is open to that. So how do you bridge that shift in perception and thinking and by
The
the leader?
the companies like the painting company that I'm implementing this with, the leaders are at a place where they're ready to make the change. They want it, they're asking for it. That's important. Sometimes I have clients that aren't. I talk about the productivity system and they say, no, it's too much. I can't do that. And I go, okay, fine. We're not going to do the productivity system. We're going to come in and we're going to do what we can um, within what they're willing to do. And then I'll bring in a life coach. They'll work with them to help shift. And I can't, they're only, even with life coaches, we can only do so much. So I can help them shift to where they'll be more open, to be more transparent with employees, to structure things in a way that works better, to give some feedback so that they can have some incentive-based pay to the employees. And we can collaborate, and you can come in and do some training for the employees to make it more transparent. So we'll make progress. We'll get a good return on investment, not as much as a productivity system, but we'll do what we can. But yes, for the entrepreneurs that are ready and willing to make that shift, that's the first thing I have to assess. Are they really willing to do this? Do they have what it takes? And if they do, it will work. And all 5 companies that have implemented it fully and gotten the results, there was an evaluation of the entrepreneurs, the owners to begin with, to make sure they were ready for it, and they were. If they aren't ready for it, then we don't even start. We do other things.
Yeah.
We do more incremental things. And where you come in is, if they want to do incremental, then it's helping them, educating them, working with the employees to make the incremental changes. And if it's the productivity system, then you can come in and help educate the employees about how this system works and how to implement it, how to take it on, so it's a smooth transition to get that 5 times productivity.
Great. Well, that's great information. One of the things I always ask my guests is, you've talked about a lot of fixes, solutions that you provide. Do you have any free tools available for people listening to get to download or to consult that will help them that they can utilize in wherever they are in their business right now?
I have a 2-page PDF that describes the 10 steps for the pricing strategy.
Oh, okay.
So they can, I provide that as something free to clients. They can use that and actually start implementing the pricing strategy. My experience has been they get about 10% of the benefit doing it on their own. I have the experience to really get the most out of it, but they want to take that and use it on their own, they can do it themselves.
Excellent.
So that's a PDF. I think I provided that to you, but I will, if I haven't, I
you
make
did,
sure
but
that you have that.
That was a while ago when we first met online. So I'm going to get that link from you again, where they can download that.
There's
And
also a PowerPoint that describes the process of the pricing strategy,
okay.
what the steps we go through, that's more detailed than the 2-page.
So
And then there's a PowerPoint on the productivity system that describes how it works.
So you could provide me links to where people can download that?
Yeah, I can provide you all of those documents.
Okay. So I'll put links to that in the description of this video, so people can go get that, and also put your contact information. So if somebody wants to explore with you, they can do that.
Share all those.
And
and I'm open to do a complimentary assessment if someone wants to talk.
Okay.
No charge, just to talk about what they're doing, help them in any way I can, see if it might make sense for us to work together, and provide any of that information that would be helpful to them.
Fantastic.
And the sales is just digital content marketing, lead generation, and looking at the whole sales process. So that's kind of what we're doing there. That we do differently. Focus on delivering high quality leads and increasing closing rate is what we differentiate on the sales side.
Okay. So we're going to provide links to those resources. Is there anything you want to add that I didn't ask you that you feel would be important to share with the audience?
I think the last thing is, I mentioned return on investment is something that's unique to my business as a business coach. And the other is, I've got over 50 experts in business that work for me that I bring in to help get things in. I've referred to that like accountants, bookkeepers. I have project managers, operations managers, and a whole digital content marketing staff that will come in and get things done for the clients, implement the plans that we have. That's
you have all the resources of expertise that is required
Yes,
to make these
that we
transitions.
can bring in and get things done. And I do that at a monthly fee that fits their budget. And then where I make my profits is with a shared savings. So I take a percent of the profits that I deliver to them.
Wow.
So I make sure there's enough profits that they get, they get a good return on investment, and I get a portion of the profits that I deliver. So it's only profits they wouldn't have gotten without me that I take a percent of.
Fantastic. Well, Bond, it's been a very interesting conversation. I think it's very
Yes, thank
valuable
you.
for every small, medium-sized business owner to hear and to explore. I encourage everyone to check out those documents. We'll make them available. Thank you very much, Bond. I look forward to more collaboration with you in the future. Let me just go back to gallery view here.
Yeah,
Have you next to me, and perhaps we'll explore other subjects in more detail, some maybe case studies in the future. That'll be
yeah.
great.
Happy to do that, and love to work with any business owners that want to run in a healthier way and reduce their stress.
Of course.
We have lots of tools and systems, some of which I described today, to help with that.
Okay. So for
Great.
those new to this channel who haven't subscribed, I encourage you to do so to get news of new videos, more interviews like this, and more of my tutorials. And there's also free downloads, well, like that Bond offers. I have a lot of forms and worksheets as well that you could learn about in the description of the video. So thank you everyone for listening, and we'll talk again soon.